Greetings and a warm welcome to this tutorial video on mastering the art of in-position 3 betting and no-limit hold'em poker. In this comprehensive video, we will delve into the world of in-position 3 betting and no-limit hold'em poker. We have 3 main objectives to cover. Firstly, we will identify the specific positions at the table where in-position 3 betting comes into play. Understanding these positions is vital for executing effective 3 betting strategies. Next, we will explore a range of typical GTO, game theory optimal, 3 betting ranges specifically designed for each of these in-position scenarios. These ranges have been carefully crafted to strike a balance between strong hand selections and hands with potential for favorable post-flop outcomes. Lastly, we will discuss important caveats associated with 3 betting ranges. We will briefly address factors such as exploiting opponent tendencies, adjusting ranges for different player types, and the impact of game dynamics. By understanding these caveats, we can fine-tune our strategies and maximize profitability. By the end of this video, you will have a solid understanding of in-position 3 betting and the foundational knowledge to apply these strategies effectively in your own poker game. So, let's dive in and explore the exciting world of in-position 3 betting. In a 6-max poker game, certain positions have the advantage of executing in-position 3 bets. Let's take a closer look. The hijack, cutoff, and button positions have the opportunity to 3-bet the LoJack while maintaining their advantageous in-position status. The cutoff and button positions can also 3-bet the hijack, capitalizing on their positional advantage. Furthermore, the button position can 3-bet the cutoff, preserving their positional dominance. It's worth noting that even though these positions may face the risk of becoming out of position if they encounter cold calls from players behind them, their primary objective is to initiate a 3-bet with the intention of securing a heads-up confrontation in a favorable in-position scenario. However, it's important to acknowledge that if the big blind were to 3-bet the small blind, it technically constitutes an in-position 3-bet. However, since blind versus blind play warrants its own dedicated discussion, we will exclude it from the scope of this video. Let's take a closer look at the first set of 3 betting ranges, specifically for playing against the LoJack player. In this scenario, the LoJack raises to a standard 2 to 3 big blinds. The range shown here is for the hijack position. So, let's imagine we are sitting in the hijack and the LoJack raises to 3 BB. Here are the hands we should consider 3 betting. Here approximately 6.0% of hands are pure raises with another 5.6% of hands at a mixed frequency. Hands shown in red should be 3-bet with 100% frequency, which includes the premiums of jacks and above, as well as ace-king hands. Additionally, we should consider 3-betting ace-queens and some high-suited aces and kings. To maintain balance, we want to include lower equity hands that have the potential to flop well, primarily consisting of low-suited aces like ace-5 suited. Hands shown in blue are 3-bet with a mixed frequency, which can be achieved by using some form of randomization. Low pocket pairs and suited connectors are 3-bet approximately 10 to 20% of the time. These hands don't make up a significant portion of the overall range. Medium suited ace hands are 3-bet around 40 to 55% of the time. King-queen offsuit and pocket tens are 3-bet around 80% of the time, while queen-jack suited is 3-bet about 45% of the time. The range for when the LoJack opens but the action if folded to the cutoff bears a resemblance to the previous one we just looked at. However, there are a few notable differences. For this range, approximately 7.5% of hands are pure raises with another 5.6% of hands at a mixed frequency. The first difference is that ace-jack offsuit is now included at a mixed frequency of 25%. Additionally, king-queen offsuit is now 3-bet at full frequency. The middling suited aces continue to be 3-bet around 50% of the time. However, ace-6 suited is now considered a pure fold. As for the low pocket pairs, 9s and below, and a few suited connectors, they still maintain a 3-bet frequency of approximately 10 to 20%. Similar to the previous range, these hands don't account for a significant portion of the overall combinations. It is also worth noting that pocket tens are nearly 3-bet at full frequency, with an approximate frequency of 90%. Now let's explore how the button reacts to a LoJack raise. As you can observe, a recurring theme emerges in these 3 betting ranges. The top 6 to 8% of hands are consistently 3-bet, and these strong hands are then balanced with low-suited aces, pocket pairs, and some suited connectors to ensure better board coverage. Here approximately 6.9% of hands are pure raises with another 7.4% of hands at a mixed frequency. In this scenario, ace-jack offsuit remains 3-bet at approximately 55%, and queen-jack offsuit has been added to the range with a frequency of 45%. The range closely resembles the cutoff versus LoJack range, with a similar overall percentage of raised hands at 9.4%. The middling ace-X suited hands are 3-bet slightly less at around 25%, making room for a higher frequency of lower suited aces, specifically ace-5 suited and below, at around 90%. Pocket tens are also reduced to a frequency of 35%. It's worth considering some metagame strategy here. Since we are playing from the button, regardless of the action, we will always have position. Consequently, we tighten our range when 3-betting to discourage getting squeezed out of the pot by the blinds. As the skill level of players increases, they are less likely to call and play out of position. Instead, they will either 4-bet or fold. To avoid having a weak range against a 4-bet, we must maintain a tighter range, even with the advantage of position. That was all the in-position 3-betting ranges for when the LoJack opens. Now let's examine the 3-betting ranges for the two in-position players when the Hijack opens. Since the Hijack's range for raising first in is not as strong as the LoJack's, the Cutoff has the opportunity to raise more hands without being concerned about facing a 4-bet. In this scenario, 7.7% of hands are pure 3-bets, and 7.5% of hands are 3-bet at a mixed frequency. Similar to before, the top 6 to 8% of hands are raised, which includes pocket tens and above, as well as ace-queens and king-queens. Other hands that are pure 3-bets consist of ace, king, and queen-jack suited, as well as ace-10 and king-10 suited. To maintain balance, the low-suited ace hands are 3-bet at a higher pure frequency. Additionally, the low pocket pairs and suited connectors are 3-bet to achieve balance. However, in this configuration, they are 3-bet slightly more frequently, approximately 25% of the time. Finally, within this range, ace-jack offsuit is essentially a pure 3-bet at a frequency of 95%, along with queen-10 suited. The middling suited aces are 3-bet around 3/4 of the time. Now let's focus on the 3-betting ranges for the button when facing a raise from the Hijack. In this scenario, we aim to 3-bet approximately 8.8% of hands with a pure frequency and 5.9% of hands with a mixed frequency. Once again, this range closely resembles the previous one, where we raise our strongest hands and balance them with low-suited aces, pocket pairs, and suited connectors. The middling ace-X suited hands are 3-bet around 75% of the time. Ace-10 offsuit is now included in the range, and ace-jack offsuit is 3-bet more frequently at full frequency. Pocket tens are 3-bet 75% of the time, while the remaining pocket pairs and suited connectors are 3-bet at a lower frequency of around 15%. King-jack offsuit is 3-bet at a frequency of 85%. It's worth noting that queen-10 and king-9 suited are no longer included in the 3-betting range. This adjustment aligns with the metagame strategy we discussed earlier, helping to protect the button's 3-bet range from vulnerability to 4-bet squeezes by out-of-position players. Finally, let's look at the last in-position 3-betting range, excluding blind on blind, when we are on the button facing a cutoff open. In this setup, our goal is to 3-bet with a pure frequency of 11.8% of hands and mix approximately 5% of the other hands. This is the widest 3-betting range for the in-position players, since the button can widen their range against the cutoff, considering that the cutoff's opening range itself is wider when compared to the LoJack and Hijack. As a result, hands like 9s can be 3-bet with a pure frequency, along with hands like Jack-10, King-9, and Ace-9 suited. The lower suited aces continue to be 3-bet for the purpose of balance. Small pocket pairs and suited connectors are still 3-bet, but at a lower frequency. Additionally, the middling ace-X suited hands are 3-bet at approximately 75% frequency. Remember, this wider 3-betting range on the button against the cutoff is possible due to the cutoff's wider opening range. Now that we have examined some GTO ranges for 3-betting based on various in-position players, it's important to discuss a few caveats associated with these ranges. Firstly, these ranges are GTO and are not exploitative. In other words, they are designed to achieve balance and optimal play against opponents who make minimal mistakes. However, if you find yourself playing against opponents who deviate from optimal play by calling too often, folding too frequently, or making other mistakes, it becomes crucial to adjust your range in order to exploit these tendencies. By making exploitative adjustments, you can maximize your profitability against specific opponents, rather than strictly adhering to balanced ranges. The second caveat is the need for range adjustments. As mentioned earlier, we cannot cover specific adjustments for different player types in this video. However, it is an important topic that will be addressed in a future video, focusing on how to exploit opponents using 3-betting ranges effectively. Lastly, it's essential to note that these ranges are typical for 6 max online poker games with 100 BB effective stacks. Different factors, such as the game format, stack sizes, and rake structure, can significantly impact optimal ranges. These factors will also be covered in future videos to provide a comprehensive understanding of how ranges may vary in different scenarios. Remember, adjusting ranges and understanding the dynamics of specific games and opponents are essential skills to master in order to maximize your success in poker. In this video, we explored 3 betting ranges against various positions, including the LoJack, Hijack, and Cutoff. These ranges were constructed to achieve a balance between strong hands, such as premium holdings and high-suited aces, and lower equity hands, with the potential to perform well post-flop, like low-suited aces and suited connectors. In the final part of our discussion, we observed that as positions move closer to the button, the opportunity to 3-bet a wider range of hands increases. This expansion is a direct result of the wider opening ranges employed by players in earlier positions. Furthermore, we briefly mentioned the distinction between GTO and exploitative ranges. While we focused primarily on GTO ranges in this tutorial, we acknowledge the significance of exploitative play and its potential impact on profitability. We plan to delve deeper into this topic in future videos, providing comprehensive coverage of both GTO and exploitative range strategies. By understanding the nuances of 3 betting ranges and the interplay between position and range widening, you'll be equipped to make informed decisions at the poker table. Stay tuned for our upcoming videos as we explore the dynamic world of poker strategy in greater detail. And there you have it, an overview of 3 betting ranges for in-position players. Thanks for watching, and if you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing, and let's practice poker.